I have a French nationality. I lived all my life in Jerusalem, and I totally refused to come and to live in France for many reasons. Because I love Jerusalem, Palestine, and I want to live this, and I think that the dignity of my people and the dignity of Palestinians and our resistance movement needed us to stay and to resist in Jerusalem. So I was shot in the leg at the early age of 15 by the Israeli occupation, and then arrested at the age of 16 for 6 months, then released 2 years after this in 2004. I was arrested for administrative detention for 5 months, then released 2005, re-arrested for 7 years. After 7 years, I studied, after I had been released, I studied law because I was interested in my readings in prison in law, and I studied law in East Jerusalem, and in 2015, I became a lawyer with the Adameer Association. I got married in 2014, but unfortunately, while my wife was coming, my wife is French, while she was coming back pregnant in our first child, 7 months pregnant, she was arrested in the airport. She was arrested in the airport, detained for 3 days, and sent back to France. And since she had no right to come back to Palestine, and I was re-arrested in 2017 for 13 months in administrative detention. In 2019, I received the first alert from the Ministry of Interior that they want to revoke my residency. Just to know, the people who are born in Jerusalem, they have no nationality. They have only a permanent residency card that permits them to live in Jerusalem, because they have no residence. So in 2018, a law that was made by the Israeli occupation parliament that gives the force and the power for the Ministry of Interior to revoke residency from Palestinians of Jerusalem based on breach of allegiance, which is based on a secret file. And as you know, in the international law, we don't have to give allegiance for an occupied force. So in 2019, I received the first alert that they want to revoke my residency. I tried with my lawyers with the Israeli laws to try to do something, but it didn't work. In 2021, in March 22, I was re-arrested by the Israelis, and I was sentenced to 3 months in administrative detention. That was renewed 3 times, and at the end, on the 18th of December, I was taken directly from the prison to the airport, handcuffed, leg cuffed, during all the trip from Tel Aviv to Paris, and I was deported to Paris, and since I have no right to go back to Jerusalem. These harassments that since 22 years, I'm not the only one, I'm not the only Palestinian suffering from these harassments. Plus, I have the chance to be here and to speak, not just about me, but also to speak about the others that they didn't have the chance to be here and to talk directly to you. So I will begin with the question of Jerusalem. I think with the new laws that they are voting the Israeli parliament, because a new law was voted in February 2023, before some months, that expanded the power of the Ministry of Interior to revoke not only residency from Palestinians in Jerusalem, but also to revoke the Israeli nationality from Palestinians who are living in the occupied territories of 48, for suspicions that these family or these ex-prisoners are receiving aid and money from the PA. But I think the main goal of these laws is to target the Palestinian society in Jerusalem, because there is a clear plan by the Israeli occupation. They want an Israeli majority in Jerusalem and a minority of Palestinians in Jerusalem. So all the tools for them are legal to be used to get rid of Palestinians. Because since 2005, the construction of the apartheid wall got out at least 100,000 Palestinians out of the borders of Jerusalem. And the ongoing daily destruction of houses, arrests, the confiscation of the rest of the lands, the house demolition, the colonial projects like the tramway and the telepheric, and the destruction of neighborhoods like what was happening in Sheikh Jarrah in 2021, and what's planned to be the demolition of Al Bustan neighborhood in Silwan, which is close to the old city of Jerusalem. So all these tools are used just to push the Palestinians to go out of Jerusalem, because the plan is clear. They don't want any more Palestinians to live in Jerusalem. So getting out Salah, there is one less, and every day they are pushing the people to go out. We were 15 persons that we were targeted by the law of the breach of allegiance. 4 Palestinian parliamentarians from Jerusalem, they were elected in 2006, and these parliamentarians, because they have no other nationality, they were sent to the PA territories, and since they have no papers, they have no right to move, no right to go out of Palestine, to travel, they have no papers, so they live in the apartheid, totally in the apartheid situation, and the rest, there are 8 political prisoners who are in the Israeli jails, and if they will be released, we will not know where will be they released. And the new law of 2023 gives the power also to the Minister of Interior, if he revokes a Palestinian, if he revokes residency from Palestinian of Jerusalem, he can send them also to Gaza. And right now, a list of 230 ex-prisoners list was published by the Israeli Ministry of Interior, alerting them that you are suspected, that you are gaining money from the PA. So we have until now a list of 230 ex-prisoners that will be targeted by the new law. But I think the main goal is the ongoing and the continuing of the ethnic cleansing in Jerusalem, to control all Jerusalem, East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem. The other issue that I would like to talk about is the Palestinian political prisoners. Today, and I was arrested the first time when I was a child, 16 years old, and the last time I was arrested 37 years old. So I knew the prison 20 years, going out and in, out and in. In total, I spent 10 years in the Israeli jails. Today, and I saw it from the two sides, as a lawyer and a human rights defender after my liberation in 2011. As a lawyer, I defended the Palestinian political prisoners in the military courts, and as a prisoner. So today there are 4,900 Palestinian political prisoners in the Israeli jails, 1,010 prisoners in administrative detention, 160 child, 40 women, 1,000 prisoners with different diseases, 300 prisoners who spent more than 20 years, around 40 who spent more than 25 years, and 30 prisoners who spent more than 32 years in the Israeli jails. All the conditions of detention in the Israeli jail are made to break the mentality and the psychology of the Palestinian prisoners. The conditions are made to destroy the human beings in the Palestinian prisoners. So I'll begin by the administrative detention, and to make the connection, the administrative detention is like the internment British law that was used here in Ireland. In Palestine, the administrative detention is a law that was made by the British mandate before the occupation of 48, and it was used against Jews and against Palestinians in the same period. And the Israelis took it and used it against the Palestinians. It's a military order that permits the army to arrest a Palestinian for a period between 1 month and 6 months. This period can be renewed 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times for the non-stop periods. This arrest is based on a secret file. You are arrested on a secret file. This secret file stays in the hands only between the military prosecutor and the judge, the military judge. Neither the prisoner nor his lawyer have access to this file, so you can spend months and years in prison without knowing for which reason you are in prison. I know cases and I know prisoners with whom I lived I was detained years since 2002, since the reoccupation of the West Bank in 2002 until now. They spent around 15 years in administrative detention because they arrest them for 2 years, 3 years, and in administrative detention they let them out for 2, 3, 4 months, and then they'll be rearrested another time for some months or some years, and in total in 22 years they spent around 15 years in administrative detention. I think this massive vague of arrests, recently 1,010 prisoners in administrative detention. There are 6 children in administrative detention. This use of the law is just a part of the ongoing destruction of the Palestinian society, because you see students, doctors, people who are working in universities, journalists, children. You can see from all the society who are arrested without any reason, and it's totally against the international law. And it's used also for the torture. It's used to torture the prisoners and the family. Because, for example, in the first order ended in the 5th of June, from March to June. Until 1 o'clock on the 5th of June, I thought that I would be released because I didn't receive any order. At 3 o'clock, they gave me the paper telling me that your detention is renewed another 3 months, and my family was just out of prison waiting for me to be released. So they use it also to torture the prisoner and also to torture his family. The second thing is the children in the Israeli jails. Today there are 160 children, Palestinian children, in the Israeli jails. Children, you can find children from the age of 12, 13, 14 until the age of 18. The conditions of detention of these children are just made to assassinate and to kill this childhood in these children, because most of their rights are confiscated during the years and the months of imprisonment. The children in Palestine are judged in the same illegal military courts as adults. The Israeli occupation have signed the intervention of rights of children many years ago, and until now she refuses to establish a special court for children. Most of the basic rights of the children are confiscated in prison. For example, the child have no right to continue their studies during the months and the years of the imprisonment. Children in the age of 12 and 13 and 16, they can pass months and months without having the right to visit their families, because in the Israeli system, only the close family have the right to visit: father, mother, sister, brother. If you are married, the wife and the child. And if, for example, if you are an ancient prisoner, directly you don't have the right to access to prison and to visit. Because, as you know, all the Israeli prisons are out of the green line. So to have access to the prisons, you have to pass through the checkpoints. So if the family wants to go to visit, there is a procedure you pass through the Red Cross to have this permit. And in the first 3 months, any Palestinian prisoners, also the children, have no right to visit, because this procedure ends, if negatively or positively, at the end of the 3 months. So children, during the first 3 months, they can visit their families. And also, I have to speak also about the children that is called Ahmad Manasra. Ahmad Manasra, he was arrested in the age of 13, and he was judged for 13 years of prison. He was tortured physically and psychologically during his interrogation. And at the end of his interrogation, because of the torture, he developed many psychological diseases. And instead of giving him medical treatment, he was sent to prison. And after 2 years in a normal prison, he was sent to the isolation. And since 2 years, he is isolated totally alone in a small 4-square room with no window, for example. He has the right to go only 1 hour in the court, we call it, in the yard, and he had to choose if he had to be cuffed either with his hands or legs during this hour in the yard. And his diseases are developing more and more. His lawyers are trying to get him out. Many demands were demanded to liberate him, but the Israeli civil courts refused to liberate this children. And the daily life in prison for the children is very difficult, because imagine that you put around 60 children in the age of 12, 13, 14, 16, until the age of alone in a section, and they have to organize their life, to have a life organized, to do food, to cook, to try to be solidaire between them. So the conditions are very, very, very tough, and really the Israeli system, according these children are made really to kill this childhood. And even as a field researcher in Jerusalem, because in Jerusalem the occupation is more clear, let me say this. In Jerusalem, the things are more direct between the Palestinian and the Israelis. So, as a field researcher, I worked with the child that were arrested in the Israeli jails. For example, and if they were, for example, I know some cases that they were arrested for 3 or 4 times per year. They take them 1 week, 2 weeks, and then they send them for home arrest for 1 month or 2 months. So the family, the parents, become guards on the children in the house, because if the children go out of the house and the parents are the guaranteed one, they will pay a big amount of money, because the family become guards on the children. So all the system of incarcerating the children is made to destroy these Palestinian children. The women also suffers in the same condition of detention as the rest of the Palestinian prisoners. And no special needs for women are respected. For example, we know 2 or 3 cases that Palestinian women were arrested when they were pregnant, and they were sentenced for months and years in prison. And in the moment of giving birth, they were sent to a Ramle prison. There is a hospital in the prison, and they were obliged to be hand and leg cuffed during giving birth. It was really torturing the Palestinian women while they were giving birth, and then they have the right to keep the baby for 2 years in prison, and then they send the baby to the family. But in some cases, you had all the family arrested: the father, the mother, the daughter, the son. They were all in prison. So you send this baby to the big family. And recently, before 2 months, they entered with force in the special forces in the rooms of the women prisoners, and they gassed them in the room, because the women were protesting against the administration of the prison, because they were confiscating all their goods in the prison where they are. There is also the issue of sick political prisoners. This issue for me is very sensitive, because I saw it directly with sick prisoners. Once you are sick with a real sickness, with a real illness in prison, you can really begin to see the end, because there is a real policy of medical neglect, systematic medical neglect by the administration of the prison. Because once you demand that you are sick and you declare that you are sick, for the first days or months, they can give you the aspirin for all the diseases. So if you have a real disease, it has developed. I remember in 2017 and 18, we were detained in what we call Al-Naqab prison. Al-Naqab prison is in the desert near the Egyptian frontiers. It's a desert. It's a military base, half prison, half military base. We were put there, 1,800 political prisoners in tents. We were put in tents. We had one dentist and one doctor. We were 1,800. And if you can imagine which doctor can see the life of 1,000 people who are most of them are sick. So this policy of medical neglect, since 1967 until now, we have 2,040 political prisoners who were dead in the Israeli jails. They are dead because of torture. They are dead because some of them were assassinated directly after their arrests. Most of them are died because of the policy of medical neglect. I remember we had a friend from the Golan Heights, the Syrian Golan Heights occupied in 2009, and we were together in the same room, and he had already spent 23 years, and in the end of his 23 years, they discovered that he had the cancer. So after 6 months, he was operated and sent back to prison. But the doctor of the prison said that maximum this prisoner will be alive for 6 months. So a court liberated him because he was judged for 25 years. They said, okay, it's not worth it that he died in prison. So he was sent out to finish up. And in 1 year he wasn't dead. So the same court tried to put him back in prison because the calculations of the doctor weren't good, and he didn't die at the end of the 6 years. Also, we had some cases with blind prisoners. Blind prisoners, they have no rights. We asked for example, for books for them to read. This was refused. Sticks to walk in the yard. It was refused. There's special needs. Everything was refused. We were the responsible persons to do everything, for example, for a blind prisoner, to prepare food, to bring him to the toilet, to prepare for him the shower, to prepare him, for example, for going and visiting his family, because the blind he's in front of his family. You have to give him the phone and to speak, and you have to introduce him for his family during the visit, to tell him your father is here, for example, or your mother is here, because he can't see. So all the rights of blind people weren't respected by the Israeli administration of prison. Recently, in 2023, 2 Palestinians died in the Israeli jails because of this policy of medical neglect. But the more and the most inhuman and a war crime that Israel continue and ongoing war crime daily with this issue, with the sick people, that either when a Palestinian prisoner is dead in the Israeli jails, the Israelis refused to give back the dead body to the family, and they keep the dead body until the end of the detention of this prisoner. Today we have 12 dead body of Palestinian prisoners who are detained in what we call the cemetery with numbers. We call it cemetery with numbers. Now, today we have 12 Palestinians, dead bodies of ex-prisoners who are detained in cemetery of numbers, and the Israelis refuse to give them back to their family. And this is the ongoing torture for the families, because there is a prisoner from Nablus. His body is detained since 1983, and until now they refuse to give back the dead body for his family. The two prisoners who died this year, they refused to give back the dead bodies for the family, and they keep the dead bodies as hostages in the city with the Israelis. There's two issues, and then I'll speak at the hunger strike, and then we can exchange. The issue of the transfer. As you know, we were detained not in one prison. There are around 15 prisons in Israel. You can begin from the north until the south. They are all on the coast of Palestine. So, and we were obliged to be transferred, or to be when we were going to the court, or even when you are judged, you are transferred each 6 months or each year to another prison, just to not to make stable your life in a prison. So the method when we were transferred, for example, for the military court, from a prison like Megiddo, which is in the north, they wake up us at 5 o'clock in the morning. They search us, and then they put us in a waiting room until the special forces come. They come and they cuffed us with the metal cuffs, hands and legs, and then we were re-searched another time, and sometimes with the presence of the dogs, especially the dogs, and then they let you go in a bus. In a bus that when you see it of the outside, it seems a touristic bus, but when you enter in the inside of the bus, this bus is blended. I don't know if the word is good. Blended. ايش يعني مصفحة؟ Immorted. No. Very secured from the. Yeah. It's secured from the inside with metal. It's all of metal on the inside. The chairs are of the metal, and all of it's of the metal. It's very cold during the winter, and it's very hot during the summer. We were cuffed, and you can spend in this. You can spend around 14 hours sometimes, and 15 hours in this bus. You have no right to go to the toilet. You have no right to any stop. You don't have the right to get food during these 14 or 15 hours of transfer. So the transfer itself also it's a method of torturing the Palestinian prisoners, and we were all transferred in this way. Once we had the prisoners on the how we call it on the wheelchair, and he couldn't walk, and he was cuffed with in his legs, and we were obliged to carry him and to put him in the bus with his wheelchair, and he was transferred, and all the sick and the elder and ancient and children are transferred in this torture bus of transfer. So I speak a little bit about the hunger strike. As Palestinians, as resistance, as people who struggle for our people, we early knew that the prisons are made to break our mentality, to break our dignity, to break our psychology. And as we knew this, we did all that we can not to let the Israeli forces apply these codes on us. So we had, for us, it was clear that the prisons, the Israeli prisons, will not stop our resistance in the prison. We change the methods, we change how we resist, but we will not stop resisting this occupation in the Israeli gates. For example, there are many ways how to resist. For example, because we are obliged to be counted 4 times per day. at 6 o'clock in the morning, at 11 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, and 8 o'clock in the evening. And each time you have to get up and that they can see you. So, for example, we refuse to be counted for some days, and for them this is a red line. We refuse to go to the yard for some days, and this is a kind of to show that we are not okay. And there is the strategic way to resist, that is the hunger strike. The hunger strike for us is the strategic methods of resistance. But it's not easy. We knew that the hunger strike is not, it's not easy. For us, the Irish people were a model for the issue of the hunger strike. And we were, when we were teaching the young prisoners how to do a hunger strike, we had the Irish essay in front of us as a model how to resist in a hunger strike. Because to arrange this hunger strike, maybe it will take 1 or 2 years sometimes, because you have to do the communication between all the prisons without that the Israeli know. You have to do the list of the people who are going to do the hunger strike, because the ancient prisoners and the children and the sick people, we put them aside during the hunger strike. To do the list of prisoners who are going to do the hunger strike, to be okay on the demands of the hunger strike, to make the communication with the people out of prison, with the solidarity movement. Because the most important thing when there is a collective hunger strike is the solidarity around it. Because it's the only pressure that obliges the Israelis to go and to begin to negotiate with the prisoners. So the preparation of a hunger strike, maybe it will take months and months and sometimes years. We launched a hunger strike, me and other 30 prisoners in last September, to protest against our administrative detention, because we were all in administrative detention. Me, for example, I was isolated directly in a special section of isolation in a small room, a 4-square room, 4-meter square room, which was very ugly. There was no shower in this room. There was a camera 24 hours filming me inside this small room. There was a small bed attached to the floor, and a small wall that separates the toilets, and a small and I had just a small cover. All my beings were confiscated by the Israelis, and I have the right only for one change, and a plastic bottle of water, and the salt also that was needed for us as hunger strikers was confiscated. We had no right for the salt, and daily pressure were put on me to stop this hunger strike. This 4 square meter, there was no window in this room. It's just a door with a small window, and the small window can be closed by the police. Your body, after 5, 6, 7 days of hunger strike, you will sleep mostly 5 to 6 hours. So during the night, when you finally get sleep after trying for hours and for hours, they come and they let you get up, and they tell you, we want to see what is in the room, and we want to search your room. So the room is already, there's nothing in the room already, and the camera, it's clear that you give them a live, that there is nothing, but they just come and wake you up, get you out of this small room, just to wake you up and then let you come back. Daily they were coming and putting pressure, asking me, for example, what is your special food? If you like burger, we can bring you burger. If you like the Palestinian food, we can bring you Palestinian food. So daily they put pressure to oblige us to eat. I remember in 2011 we had a collective hunger strike, and we were detained. We were isolated around 80 prisoners in a section. In a section that the yard is in the middle and the rooms are all around the yard. We were 8 strikers per room. They came. They put ventilators, big ventilators, on the door of each room, and they put on the ventilators. Some minutes after that, they brought Israeli criminals, prisoners, and they started to do barbecue behind the doors. So all the smell of the meat and the onions went in our rooms just to try to put the pressure on us to stop the strike. So crimes and crimes and crimes can be committed against the hunger strikers during the period. It also happened in the 80s that when there was a big hunger strike in the Palestinian prisons, in the prison of Navan, which is near Gaza, there was a political Israeli decision to stop the hunger strike. So the director of the prison took in force 3 political hunger strikers, and they cuffed them to a bed. The method was to enter a tube from the nose, and it goes to the stomach directly, and put milk, so they declare that the strikers stopped the hunger strike. But unfortunately, 2 of these prisoners, the tube didn't go to the stomach. It went in their lunges, and they put the milk on the lunges, and the 2 were dead directly in this hunger strike. So crimes can be committed during hunger strike. For this, when there is a hunger strike, it's an urgent appeal to do this massive solidarity with the hunger strikers, because it's the only way to put pressure on Israel to oblige it to go and to negotiate with the political prisoners. I will end by saying, despite the 10 years of prisons, despite that I didn't have a normal life. I was shot. I was banned from entering the West Bank. I didn't see my family and my child for years and years. But it's really in the solidarity with other prisoners in the daily life of prison that I got convinced, and more convinced, that the Israeli occupation is like the other occupations. There will be a day that this occupation will end. The destiny of this occupation is like the destiny of the French in Algeria, like the American in Vietnam, like South Africa. Each day passes, I'm more and more convicted that there is a day that this occupation will end. For me, if the Israelis think that deporting me from Palestine, they will stop my resistance, I think they are in the total illusion. Because for me, Palestine, it's a case and it's not geography. So with all the hope, with all the courage that I gained from the prisons, the prisoners, I will continue with you also, and all the solidarity movement. We will continue our resistance. We will continue our right to defend human rights and to defend the Palestinian rights. I thank you another time, and I hope with you we will continue this struggle until we have the rights of the Palestinian people.